Hey everybody, Milton Davis is here. It is Tuesday, September 6th, and I'm here to talk about my vending experience at DragonCon. So as you guys know, last weekend was DragonCon. It's always Labor Day weekend, and I've been attending DragonCon since 2012, doing various panels and different things like that. And I've always wanted to vend there. I always felt like because of what we had available, and because of the feedback that we were getting from the panels, and sometimes I would wander over to the vending room and talk about my books and what I had, that I would really do well there. And so I finally had the opportunity to test out that theory. But before I get deeper into this, I'd just like to give a shout out to Glenn Paris. And the reason I'm giving this shout out to Glenn is because Glenn was the person who actually got the tables for this year. He got a couple of tables. He got in contact with me and a couple other people and said, "Hey, I got these tables. Let's do some vending at DragonCon." Um, Shameless plug for Glenn. Glenn's current novel is Dragon's Heir. It's an amazing book, so if you get a chance, go check it out. He asked the questions when he wrote this book. He asked the question, "What really happened to the dinosaurs?" And Dragon's Heir is the answer to that. So anyway, so Glenn got the tables. Um, we got all our stuff together. I had a lot of inventory at the time because I had brought in inventory during the height of the pandemic because I got a lot of orders. I got a lot of orders during that time. I anticipated to continue to get those orders, but as people started to get out of the house, as the pandemic started to wane, those orders dropped. So ended up with a lot of inventory. So anyway, we got set up. We split the table up between the three of us. I had my MV Media stuff there. Glenn had his books there. Dedrian Sneed had his Subsume stuff there, and we got set up and ready to go. Now, I knew it was going to be a lot of people. I mean, they had estimated there was going to be 60,000 people coming to DragonCon, and I figured with 60,000 people, we should do well. I normally do smaller cons that run anywhere from 500 to maybe 1,500 people, and usually when I do those cons, I'll sell something like between 30 and 40 books. That's a good day for me. Looking at basically the number of people that are there, and kind of figuring out the percentage of people who will probably purchase from you. So I figured with 60,000 people, I should sell something, and I was right. One of the few times that I am. The first day, the first day was good. We had a good crowd. We had a good flow coming through. See, the way they do this thing is that there's so many people that want to get into the vending area that they start to line up at the door before they open. I mean, they open at 10 o'clock, but by 8 o'clock, people are already lining up. So by around 9:30, they start letting people in. They start staging them in the different areas. Now, the apparel mart has 4 floors, and we were on the second floor, which is considered the exhibitor floor. There's also the third floor where the comics are, and then there's the fourth floor where the artists are, which is where your high-end comic people and artists and different things like that are. So at 10 o'clock, they opened the doors and they let them in. Now, it was taking, this is how many people it was. It was taking at least an hour, and at least an hour wait to get into the apparel mart. And when they let the people in, they would come in waves. And when they started coming to your tables, it was amazing. I mean, you could barely stop. As soon as you would talk to one person about your books and make a sale, then there'll be another person right there. So, and this went on through the entire day. Friday was a good day, but my experience with DragonCon, I know that Saturday is usually the busiest day for people because a lot of people get a 1 day pass just to come on Saturday. So that's when you're going to get your biggest crowd. And as I thought, that's what happened. Saturday came, a bunch of people were coming through. I didn't do as well on Saturday because I had more panels. Friday only had one panel, so I spent most of my time at the table. Saturday I had 5 panels, so I was going back and forth. Although we all supported each other, like when one of us wasn't there, the other one would talk about the other person's book and make a sale for them when they could. It's still always better when you're there personally because people want to talk to you. You know more about your products than anybody else, so you get the opportunity to explain to people what's going on and and about your book, so you make better sales that day. We also had some issues with our Square. There's so many people using wireless during that time. So you get the system gets jammed, and so things will slow down sometimes. So we had an issue with that. But all in all, Saturday was still a good day. What surprised me was Sunday. Now I know that a lot of people will buy books on Sundays because usually that's their last day they're going to be at the con. So they're saying, okay, it's my last day. I'm here. I want to go ahead and get some books before I leave and that kind of thing. But I was really overwhelmed by the number of people that came through on Sunday. I knew it was going to be a busy day, but I think it was actually more people coming through the vendors room on Sunday than it was either on Friday and on Saturday. And it ended up being my best day as far as sales were concerned. That's when I sold the bulk of my books. To be honest, I had sold all the more popular books, and I was just throwing things up on my stand. Whatever I had in my box, whatever I had brought from home, I was throwing it up on the stand, and people were buying it. And people were buying like 3, 4, 5 books at a time. So they were really there to shop. They were really there to acquire books. So it ended up being a great weekend overall. I sold 155 books. We sold a total of 245 books on the table. Glenn sold out of his books. Dedrin sold out of his books. So it was a really, really, really good day. So that's a synopsis. If you've been reading my posts, you've probably heard all this stuff before. So I'm just kind of rehashing that information. So the next part I wanted to talk about was um, talk about if you're planning on doing vending at DragonCon. One of the things you need to look at is that the sooner you apply for tables, the better. A lot of people are applying for vending tables at DragonCon, and it's not a first come, first served basis. We applied years ago. We got selected one time. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get ourselves together on the financial end, so we weren't able to get our table. But after that, subsequent times we applied, and we never got chosen, which is really why I couldn't miss out the opportunity of doing our table when Glenn called and said, "Hey, we got an opportunity to do this." So the sooner you apply, that you would check your DragonCon website, and as soon as they say vending tables are available, you need to apply. Actually, if you're at the show, if you happen to be a vendor, they will actually come to your table and give you an opportunity to sign up for that next year, for that following year. So we could have signed up for 2023 while we were doing our vending on 2022. And of course, that gives you an advantage to be able to get a table and ahead of everybody else who might want to, get their own tables and do sales like that. The other thing that I learned from talking to other people who have done the vending at DragonCon is that the second floor is one of the best floors to be on. And now all the floors are busy, but the second floor is your exhibitor floor, and it's more of a general floor. And it's the floor that more people come and just browse and take a look and see what's going on. So end up getting a larger crowd, a larger number of people on the second floor just because they're just looking around to see what people are selling and stuff like that. When it's the third and the fourth floor are more specific because you're talking about comics, you're talking about art. So the people who are really interested in that will go directly to those floors. But the people who are just there at DragonCon and they're just hanging out, they come into the vendors, they just looking to see what they can find. Most of those people will spend the majority of their time on the second floor. And I mean, and people were really checking out our table. It wasn't people weren't just walking by and just kind of browsing. They were taking the time to look and see what we had. One thing we found that a lot of people will look, and it's almost like they're waiting to be invited over to your table. So we would see a person looking at our table and staring and stuff like that. We'd wave them over, and 9 times out of 10, when we did that, we made a sale. It's curious about how people do that, but yeah, but it's almost like they were waiting to be invited, so we invited them. We were very proactive when we worked with people and when we were working with the groups and different things like that. So so again, like I said, see if you can get your tables early. See if you can get a table on the second floor. For me, I think what helped my sales, and I can't speak for other people, but for me, I think it helped the fact that I had a variety of books on my table. So I had something for almost every interest when it came to genre-wise. I had science fiction, I had fantasy, I had post-apocalyptic stuff, I had comic books on the table. So there was something that would catch people's interest. Now that may not be something that you might be able to do based on what you're selling. You may only have one book out, You may just have a few books out, but for me, it seems like the wider variety, the better, the more choices you had for people, um, the more likely that they were going to be people to purchase your books or something like that, or purchase something from you. I also had buttons, I had bookmarks, so we had a lot of different things available for people. It also really helped that we had three people at the table because people were spending more time at the table because we there were three of us. So they would talk to Glenn, then they would come down, they would talk to me, and then they would go down and talk to Dedrin, or they would work their way the other way. But it kept them at the tables a long time, and usually when that happened, one of us would make a sale. Or all of us would make a sale, depending on what person's interest was when they were looking at a table, and that comes to another thing. Um, these tables are not cheap. They're expensive. I think you're going to run around paying like $1,300 for a table. We had two tables, so we were paying twice as much. And when you start doing that, one of the things about doing cons is that a lot of people look at them for being an opportunity for exposure. I want to make a profit everywhere I go. It's one of the reasons why I don't do a lot of cons out of town, because once I figure in the traveling costs, room and board, food, if I'm driving, gas, and I look at all that, and I look at the number of books that I will have to sell to cover all that cost and make a profit, it's usually a pretty big amount, and it's usually not the amount of books I'm going to sell at a small con. As far as DragonCon is concerned, it's a home con. I usually don't stay in a hotel. I drive back and forth. The parking is expensive. It's more expensive on Saturday than it is on Sunday and Friday because that's the busiest day. So it helps to be able to get with a group of people and you split the cost on the table. That way you're more likely to make a profit because you're spreading that cost out. We actually did that a few years ago for the Decatur Book Festival. There were six of us. We all got together. We split the cost for the table. We presented ourselves under one banner. We were like the state of black science fiction, and but we sold our separate books under our own banner, our own brands, and our own company names and stuff like that. And it worked out great. Again, we had different people there. People stayed at the table more. When people saw a crowd, they came over to see what was going on. So all that kind of stuff just adds up to increase your possibility of making sales. And at least that's how it worked for me. That's how I felt like it worked for us and stuff like that. So that's basically it. We're looking forward to doing DragonCon next year. We are excited about it. I'm assuming that next year there are probably going to be more people. This year, the official total that they announced on the news this morning was 65,000 people, and most of us know that in the previous years before the pandemic that the numbers were getting up to close to 80 and 90,000 people coming. And so you can imagine what the vending room looked like in those years past and compared to what it looked like here. And another thing that they didn't do this year was that this year there was no walk-up passes. You had to buy your passes in advance. So that controlled the number of people that were actually there. Previous years, you can actually show up on that day and pay for a pass, pay for a one-day pass, which increased the number of people who were attending. They didn't have that this year, but I'm pretty sure the way things are going, if everything keeps going the way that they're going now, that probably will be available for next year. One more thing too is that if you're able to get on panels, that will also help you. I didn't want to do a lot of panels because I wanted to spend time at my table, but I wanted to do some panels because that's another way that you can drive traffic to your table. You do a panel, people are interested in what you have to say. They come to the front after the panel, and they'll ask you, well, do you have a table here? Where are you? And stuff. And you say, yeah, I'm in the vending room. You tell them where they are, and 9 times out of 10, they will come to your table and they will come to see what you're about, especially if you were very interested and engaging during your panels and stuff like that. They'll definitely want to come check you out and see what you have. I actually took my own name card that had a QR code that would take people to my website, just in case they didn't want to come through the vending room, but they could just click that and it would take them to my website. I was running a sale on my website at the same time, so the same prices that I was selling the books for at the con, I was also selling them for at my website, so people could get them and do that. And when I did run out of inventory, I would tell people, hey, go to my site, place an order, and we can get stuff shipped to you. So again, trying to make things as easy as possible for people when it came to uh, uh, being able to have access to my product. So that's basically it. I'm gonna scroll down a little bit because I can't really see um, comments. Just seeing if anybody's here. I see there's like 7 comments actually. um, Keith says every con, big or small, I'm splitting, which is true. It's a good way to save you some money. Um, I see Tony Cade has some comments. I know you guys can kind of see that and stuff like that, talking about the different prices and stuff. But inflation is what it is. Um, Julian makes a statement about $1,300 for a 6 foot table now is different than what floor you're on. Yeah, it can. I think the price might fluctuate, and it's not a 13, and it's not a 6 foot table. It's a pretty long table. I think it's probably like about a 8 or 10 foot table. So you get a lot of space, So you got a lot of space, But it's definitely not a 6 foot table. I've done. I was actually surprised at how big the table was when I got there and stuff. So even though it was tight for us because we had 3 of us sharing the space on 3 tables, we worked it out to where everybody had enough room to display what they had. I was the hog. I had most stuff, but anyway, we were all able to get our stuff in there and get a good run on that. So yeah, it's worth it. It's worth taking out to me, if especially if you're in Atlanta and this is your home base. I feel like it's worth it doing the vending. I think it's worth it trying to get in at the DragonCon vending. You will sell just because the sheer amount of people coming through there. I mean, if you have good product and you're in that space, you're going to sell product because people are there to buy. People were very supportive. As a black vendor, I'll tell you this: in 2012, Bernard Martin came to Balogun Ojitade and I, and asked us to come to DragonCon because he saw the increase in the number of black people attending DragonCon, and I can truly say that this weekend I saw that continue. The majority of the black people that I met at DragonCon this year were first time attendees. They had never been to DragonCon before, and they were there specifically looking for what we had. A lot of them were very happy when they saw us. Not saying we were the only people they bought from, but they were happy. They were happy to see us being represented in fantastic fiction, and they bought tons of books and stuff. A lot of them were from out of town, and they were stocking up. I met a lot of people who had seen us on Facebook, and they were coming by to get product and stuff. Had a couple of people who already had books from us and were basically coming by and letting us know that they had purchased stuff from us and they enjoyed what we were doing. So it was a great experience. I think it was a great experience for us, and I think it was really a great experience for the people who attended to be able to come into this venue and see the type of representation that they were hoping to see among the vendors and stuff. Not that there were a lot of us there. I mean, I think there should be more black vendors, or more diverse vendors at DragonCon, and I'm sure that will happen as the years go by. But again, it was a great opportunity. There was a great back and forth. There was a lot of support both ways. So it was a really enjoyable experience. So I'm gonna check my comments one more time and see what's going on down there. Let's see. So David says, so the question is, I have to bring another really of luggage to fill all the books that I purchased from you and your fellow authors. Yes, you do, David. You'll have to do that. And Jason says, go where you're celebrated and watch those dollars go up. And that's true. I believe in taking the path of least resistance. I'm not there to fight battles. I'm there to find where I'm accepted and where people appreciate what I do. And I feel like, as at least in the vendors room, that was happening at DragonCon, And I also feel like overall, they're making the effort to make the con more inclusive. They've been doing it for a few years now, and so and you're seeing the results of that. So that's about it. That's all I have. You guys can continue to comment after I shut this down. But yeah, if you're a vendor, if you're into fantastic fiction, if you're local in Atlanta, and even if you're from out of town close by, I mean, I would seriously consider doing DragonCon and getting in the vendors room, and also making yourself available to do panels. They're always looking for people to do panels. There's always never enough people to do panels. So if you know someone within the DragonCon hierarchy, if you go to the website and they say they're looking for volunteers and stuff like that, put your name on there. Put your name on it because again, getting to participate in panels gives you another opportunity to get in front of the people at DragonCon. Let them get to know you and see what you're about, and possibly they will come and visit your table and get some good stuff from you. So that's it. That's what I got. I hope I was able to share some knowledge. We'll be talking about this over the next few months or so. My next event will be Multiverse Con. I will be there strictly as a vendor. So Multiverse Con is an up and coming convention. You get an opportunity to check it out and appear or come to it. Please do. But y'all take care and peace.